In our module 2 on confidence building for professionals and how to build self confidence, either you're a professional, you want to boost your career, or whatever. The next thing we'll do now, after we have learned self awareness, self acceptance, and self, so we'll go to overcoming self doubt and imposter syndrome. Overcoming self doubt and imposter syndrome. So, how do we overcome self doubt and imposter syndrome? So, these are the topics we want to cover under this module. The first one, we want to identify some things we call negative self talk and cognitive distortions. These are things that can affect your confidence. So, how do you overcome self doubt? So, the first thing is you need to know is to identify those negative self talk and cognitive distortions that we give to ourselves that bring down our self esteem. Two, what are the strategies we're going to use to combat self doubt? Those things we want to do, the actions that we want to take to ensure that we fight self doubt. And lastly, what do we understand by overcoming imposter syndrome? What's an imposter syndrome and how do we understand it and how do we overcome it? Now, the first thing we want to look at is identifying negative self talk and cognitive distortions. Negative self talk. This is number one thing that bring down the self esteem. It so happens that when you do not have confidence in yourself, like we have said, that confidence is your trust in your personal self, your ability, your trust in your ability, your trust in your judgment, in your decision. Now, when you start having negative self talk about yourself, then there is no how you can be confident. So, negative self talk refers to the critical and often harmful things we say to ourselves when you start criticizing yourself, saying negative things about yourself, saying bad things just because of whatever happens. It is not, you're not going to be the first person that thing will happen to. So why are you going to criticize? Why do you want to crucify yourself because of something that happens? For example, telling yourself, I'm a failure. Because I've had this several times. I once said, I just can't do anything well. I'm not good enough. All of these are bad talk that you don't say to yourself. If I'm not a failure, okay, tell me what else am I? My wife is dead, my children are gone, my business is has crashed. I just can't do anything well. These would bring down your self esteem. Or I'll never be able to do this. You're looking at the task. You've not even challenged yourself to face it. You've not even challenged yourself to at least embrace it. And the next thing you do is count me out. Not me, not me. Somebody. It do happen in schools. A teacher would write a question on the board and who's going to solve this? Some children will be saying me teacher, and some, they'll just put their yes. These are some of those things. No, 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 no! Don't call me. I'm not going. I'm not doing. It's one of those things that bring down your self-esteem. So we call it negative self-talk. The next one is cognitive distortions. These are irrational and exaggerated thoughts patterns that can influence our behavior and emotions. Thought patterns that does not they are not worth it. They are overboard. Yes, it can happen. Or taking them too high just because of what? Because you're emotionally imbalanced. Because your behavior, you feel you are low to some people. Inferiority complex is affecting you. So it is affecting your cognitive our ability and it's now distorting it. So now you can't think properly, especially about yourself. So you have this all or nothing thinking. If I don't get this contract, then I'll never be able to get another one. That's an example. All or nothing. If I am not able to do this, then I'm not worth it. I'm useless. If I cannot do this, then what else can I do? And another one is what we call overgeneralization. Overgeneralizing issues. Example. I always mess up presentations. Have you forgotten when you did a presentation well? There are times that you have been clapped. There are times you have been applauded. Why is it that just because you failed at this, you overgeneralize? Have you forgotten the day your mentor was like, I cannot have a better mentee than you. But because you fucked this up, you believe you're the worst mentee. That's overgeneralizing. Number three, what we call it mental filtering. Mental filtering. Your mentality will not bring the best thing for you from yourself. It will filter all the good things and bring only the bad ones for you. So the only time you only focus on your mistake, not your achievements. You only focus on your weaknesses, not your strengths. You only focus on the times you fall, not the times you have given victory. You only focus on the time the school abuses you for not doing something, forgetting there are times the school has brought you out on the assembly for accolades. That's what we call mental perfume. So, for somebody who wants to deal with self doubt, these are some of those things you need to watch out for. Next thing is catastrophizing, catastrophe, destruction. If I don't meet this deadline, my career will be over. Why would your career be over just because you did not meet a deadline? Fine, your boss might want to do something harsh for you. But that is not the end of the road. Just like some people will say, if a man fold its own mat, Allah would spread your rug. Allah will spread a better carpet. So the fact that you did not meet the target, you did not meet a deadline, does not end your career. It can end somewhere, but it will start somewhere else. So these are ways that somebody would have what we call cognitive distortions about themselves. And when you are full of cognitive distortions, bad thoughts, bad thinking about yourself, or negative words about yourself, then you are the ones pulling your confidence level down. You're called, who is going to give us a prayer? Even though you know you're going to stammer, still raise your hand, still do it. And when you do that, by the time you do it the first time, the second time, you would have broken the yoke. What are those things that you see to identify self talk and negative distortions? Take notice of your thoughts and emotions throughout the day so that you can notice if you are having negative self talk or when you have cognitive distortions. So ask yourself on a daily basis, do I do this? Is this thought based on fact or it is an assumption? What I'm thinking about myself now presently, this rubbish that I'm telling myself, is it based on facts? Is it the reality? Or is it because it's just happened now? I just assumed that it is. Two, is this thought helping me or is it hurting me? This rubbish thing that I'm saying about myself, is it bringing me up or is it bringing me down? Ask yourself the next one. Would I say this thing that I'm telling myself, this criticizing words that I'm giving myself, this rebuke, if it was my friend that falls in this situation, would I say the same thing to me? So these are those things you do to ask yourself if you or actually have what we call a negative self talk or cognitive distortion.